is limited to a statement of specific factual information, a recital of an existing policy, or direction to staff for follow-up. The presiding officer shall have the authority to provide a verbal warning and/or excuse from the meeting a speaker who uses abusive, harassing, threatening, or defamatory language, or who engages in disorderly conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of a meeting. First speaker tonight, Mr. Marty Mullins.
Good evening, Council. My name is Marty Mullins. I'm the chair of the Cedar Creek Lake Area Chamber of Commerce and also the chair of the Gun Barrel City chapter. The Gun Barrel City chapter is holding a candidate forum at our regular scheduled meeting on March the 16th at 8 o'clock at Chicken Express. This is going to be just a meet the candidate type forum. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to be able to tell the public on why they should vote for them. There's not going to be any questions. This isn't going to be a candidate bashing or an opponent bashing. It's just strictly to meet the candidates. So anybody that wants to attend is welcome to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Leslie Gunn. No, ma'am. Yours is one came up.
Good evening, Council. I'm Leslie Gunn. I live at 134 Stevens Drive here in Gun Barrel. I'm really here just to kind of set the record straight about Keith Bond. We were at the December meeting, was our first meeting to come in. We'd never been to a council meeting before. So we were fortunate enough to sit near him, and we started talking and asking him questions about what goes on. He was very informative and very positive. We thoroughly enjoyed sitting there visiting with him. I missed January's meeting, and then I hear from Diane and other people that he got into trouble. I don't know another word to use for that, but that he was overheard saying negative things about the council and about everything down here, and that's not true. I mean, he did not say anything negative. At one point, we were talking about this festival, excuse me, and Diane and I had both said, I only saw a couple of signs, and we missed the festival. We would have gone. He said it was a great festival, that possibly maybe it just wasn't advertised enough as maybe it could have been. That was the only thing negative that he said. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood there was nothing said negative from him about anything or anybody. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, ma'am. Tiffany Davidson. I'm sorry? Yes, ma'am, you can. See what's listed on. You want to talk about cat adoptions?
Yes, sir, for the cat adoption contracts with Jessica Hiller for PetSense.
Okay. Laura Young.
Good evening. I'm Laura Young. I live at 262 Overlook Trail. I've lived here about 6 years. I'm a private tutor in the area. I'm here this evening to ask council to support a reinstatement of the Parks and Recreations Board. I read about the board in the city charter and in the comprehensive plan, and I was interested in getting the board started again, just because I saw a need. I approached Mr. Ken Foster and Ms. Rita Evans They're my representatives, and I asked them how I could get this board up and going. Ken offered to sponsor the item on the agenda, if that's the correct term, but he said, I can't help you unless you see that there's some interest. So at that point, I talked to friends and neighbors. I contacted a few people, and I was really surprised because I had quite a few people that were interested in serving. Anyway, I directed these people to go to the website and find an application. I had a couple that don't have a printer, so I offered to print. They filled out applications, and I gave the applications to Ken just because I thought, well, maybe if he has applicants with the agenda item, that it would strengthen the support. So anyway, I have a really nice lady that has a background in childhood development. I have an engineer that is interested. He helped get our parks in Tamarack up and going. And I have a couple of applicants from the Beautification Committee, a retired attorney, and a lady that is interested or has a background in writing grants. They're fresh, enthusiastic, they're anxious to serve, and I just think it would be a great thing to help be advisors to council and give direction, ideas, fresh ideas, that kind of a thing. Anyway, I'm asking for your support to reinstate, and I just would love to see this happen for our citizens and for our parks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Diana Grissom.
Hello, I'm Diane Grissom. I live at 143 Stevens, and I wanted to speak about Keith Bond. At the last meeting, it was brought up that there was a conversation with two ladies in which he said negative things. And my memory of the conversation that took place in December was totally different. As Leslie stated, he was very pleasant. He told us about the board members, where everyone sat, what area they represented. The only thing that could have been taken as negative is the discussion about the festival, which Leslie explained. We were unaware of it, that we had seen a sign or two on the road, but we really didn't attend. He told us how good it was, how much fun it was. And I kind of took it that he was thinking, well, maybe we ought to reconsider how it's presented if there are people that aren't. I mean, he didn't say anything negative about it at all. He told us about the committee that he served on. He pointed to the chair of the committee that was sitting near us. It was a very pleasant conversation, and I just wanted to, like Leslie said, get the record straight, because it was brought up that there was a conversation with two women and he had negative comments. I'm unaware of these negative comments. It was a very pleasant experience, and he promoted the city. He loved it. He loved on the board that he was on. The only thing that the only negative thing was, gosh, all the traffic that we have. It's gotten so busy out there. But everything else was very positive, and that wasn't negative. It was just that it's growing and it's busy. Okay? Thank you.
Item 1, all matters listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine by City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussions on these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Consider approving the following reports: City Manager, Code Enforcement, Court, December financials, Fire, Permits and Inspection, Police, Dispatch, and Animal Control, previous meeting minutes, November 2022, January 2023, Streets and Parks, EDC December 2022 financials, EDC January 2023 financials. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as put forth.
Second.
A motion and a second. Vote from my left.
Yawns, yes.
Evans, yes.
Rue, yes.
Key, yes.
Boss, yes.
Thank you. New business, item 2A, update from Councilman Yawls on internet providers. Councilman Yawls?
Thank you. Just a couple of quick notes. I wanted to talk about, when I first moved to Gun Barrel City in 1995, I was used to the internet as it existed then with dial-up internet and was very dismayed when I saw that we only had long-distance calls to get access to America Online as it was back then. And one of the things that I've hoped for and wanted to work on for years was to find some way to bring some new state-of-the-art high-speed internet into Gun Barrel City that was more than what we already had. Our goal within that, also with the council in our strategic plan, was to include that, and many other parts and elements of that plan call for having that same internet here. Today, I'm proud to announce that we are finally ready to start to realize that objective, and that we first began about 2 years ago. And I'd like to introduce two individuals, Mr. Wilderom, who's the president of North Texas Fiber, and Mr. Bobby Vassallo, who is the Chief Technology Officer with North Texas Fiber. And I understand you'll have some points that y'all like to share to the community tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Good evening, Council. Welcome, everybody. Very nice to meet you all. Thanks for the introduction. As Mr. Yaws graciously introduced us, we are North Texas Fiber, and the business we're in is modern high-speed internet. We're a locally owned, Texas-built and bred company out of Dallas. A couple of our members of our management are sitting there with us. We run a very, very modern network, and we're very excited to have the opportunity to be part of the Gun Barrel City community very shortly. Next slide. It's going to take a while. You know, high-speed internet doesn't happen overnight, but our plan is to bring in the most modern network in Texas into the neighborhood, coming down Main Street, starting with local businesses, and offer multi-gig service and television to residences at some point in time. We view Gun Barrel City, we have folks that are members of our management team that live in the neighborhood of the lake in Eustis. We want to be part of the community. Our thought is to first bring in these types of services into your city office buildings, the police department, the fire department, et cetera. Know that a lot of those are in the area, and get established as members of the community. We've already purchased a building up on Gun Barrel Lane that we're going to use as an office space and a hub for part of our telecom equipment. Look to expand that, obviously, as we grow with the community. There's a lot of advantages, as Councilman Yaws mentioned, to high-speed internet. There's a lot of facets of it for economic development. I know we've been talking to Ms. Robin there about how we can impact that. There's plenty of studies that have indicated the benefit to education, medicine, economic development, et cetera, with high-speed internet. We want to partner with the folks here in Gun Barrel City, as well as the folks around Cedar Creek Lake and down into some more southern parts of the area to help promote that. As I mentioned, we are a locally owned business. Our roots are here in Texas, and we want to grow with our local communities around here. Could you back up one slide, if you don't mind? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, just a couple things on that slide. We talked about bringing in to some of the businesses first. That will be sort of phase one, probably in the summertime, and then we'll expand out into the residential parts of the neighborhood as time permits, and hopefully we have the opportunity to expand and grow with you all. Let's see what else is up there. Yeah, thank you for that. What's on the next slide? Next slide. Okay. Obviously, we know there's competition here, and we want to be as competitive as we can. We believe we offer a premium service to all of the members of the community. We would look for, cooperation and participation as we try to grow and expand our footprint. Word of mouth is obviously our best. We do offer we want to be very supportive of the the folks here, but word of mouth would be very useful and helpful as we grow. And there's obviously there's lots of other areas where we can participate with Robin and her area with local grants and whatnot to help those that are in need of maybe some support to get high-speed internet into their homes. And that's the last of it. Council members, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So a question that comes up quite often is and again, I won't mention any names because we don't want to bash any of the other businesses that do operate. They've done a good job with what they had. But one of the questions that comes up routinely is the quality of the product, internet, coming into homes. A lot of problems with getting a good, reliable internet signal, being able to maintain that and have that in. And one of the things that I've heard from those companies as a customer when I've called them in the past is they talk about their capacity, the age of their equipment, and it's fundamentally just beyond its useful age, and its expandability is very difficult. What is North Texas Fiber bringing to that discussion that they can't?
Yeah, thanks for the question, and we hear that a lot for the folks that have been, you mentioned dial-up, old copper phones, slim lines, et cetera. The network that we're going to bring into Gun Barrel City is 100% fiber optics. It's homed into Dallas where we connect into the internet. And the old carriers, Councilman Yaz, as you mentioned, it's a hodgepodge of connectivity. There's copper lines, there's fiber optics, there's lots of splice points. The network that we build in Texas is fiber end to end. So when we connect up City Hall as an example, there will be a fiber optic light connection straight up the highway into Dallas where we connect right into the internet. It's pure light, it's 100% brand new modern technology. As that grows out into the residences, the same type of service will be offered to the residential community where brand new equipment, pure light, that's where the slowdowns come in, is when you have a combination of old gear, electrical connections and whatnot. That's the slowdowns, that's the lack of resiliency and reliability that you would expect, much like your electricity. You don't expect electricity to go out. We will have your internet up 100% of the time because it's built from scratch. The service levels will not degrade, they will stay to maximum. We don't do anything below 1 gigabit, which is probably 10 times or so more powerful and more higher throughput than the average internet connection today. So that's where we start and we go up from there. So the short answer to your question is purpose-built for speed, purpose-built for reliability, and no legacy equipment, pure fiber optics all the way straight to the internet is the way we deliver service.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it very much. Item 2B, discuss and/or take action to authorize the execution of settlement participation forms with Allergan, CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens in the Texas Opioid Settlement Agreement secured by the Office of the Attorney General. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to discuss and/or take action to authorize the execution of settlement participation forms with Allergan, CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens in the Texas Opioid Settlement Agreements secured by the Office of the Attorney General.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. City Manager?
This is just another process. This is not the first time we've participated in an opioid settlement process. We as a city, in order to participate, must opt into the process. We are provided with several documents to be signed by a representative of the city, just opting into the process. We do not know what our portion of the settlement will be, but until all the cities that opt in decide whether they will or not, there's no way of knowing what our percentage of the award will be. So this is just a formal requirement for us to opt into the settlement agreement.
Thank you. Any question, council? Discussion? Vote for my left.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to abstain from voting on this as my employer is one of the settlement
Thank you.
parties.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Walsh, yes.
Item 2C, annual report to the City Council is required by Senate Bill 1074 in regard to racial profiling. Mr. City Manager, are you doing the report or is Chief?
Chief Williams will give the report to council.
Chief Williams.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, Mr. Mayor, and members of council. I am here today to provide the 2022 report on racial profiling as by law. And what I found, having been your police chief since August of 2022, is that there was a total of 1,011 traffic stop, which tells me in 22 there wasn't a whole lot of work being done out there proactively with the number of traffic that we have. But I do find, and pleased to report, and can say with a great deal of certainty that we don't racially profile in Gun Barrel City. 100% of the stops, the race was not known prior to the stop. And you look at the census, to explain it a little bit deeper, if you look at the census for Gun Barrel City, we're 97% white. And then if you look at our number of traffic stops, it was 88% white. So you might say, why is there a differentiation? Well, we have a lot of cities across the lake that come and do a lot of shopping here that are not residents of the city, and they get stopped by the police when they get here. So I can tell you with a great deal of certainty that we are not racially profiling, and we are doing a great deal of more traffic stops in 23. Just for information, I mean, we're nearing 50% of that number after 2 months. So our folks are out there proactive and trying to slow people down and stop them from crashing. So, but we do not racially profile, and the report reflects that. Any questions?
No.
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Williams. Appreciate it. Item 2D, discuss and/or take action to adopt resolution number R 2023-002, establishing a code of ethics and conduct for elected and appointed officials. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to discuss and/or take action to adopt resolution number R 2023-002, establishing a code of ethics and a code for elected and appointed officials.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Aarons, you wanted to speak to this item?
Thank you. I'd like to ask, is it ethical to sign an employment agreement without council approval, then keep it secret for over 4 months, giving extras not agreed upon by council? Is it ethical to violate city charter by making exceptions for employees to remain employed even though they have not met residency requirements? Is it ethical to deny First Amendment rights under Texas Government Code 551.007E to petition government for redress of grievances? Is it ethical to deny the rights of council members to have items added to the agenda, a right outlined in our city charter 31.17C? Is it right to collude with council members to align talking points and votes? Is it ethical to suggest that citizens keep accusations of government abuse private? Is it ethical to refuse to interview qualified applicant for board position until you have a competitor because you don't like them? Is it ethical to place animals for adoption in violation of Texas Health Code, then blame residents for slowing your illegal practices? Is it ethical to disparage nonprofits in open meeting and refuse to correct your false statements when provided with receipts? Is it ethical to refer to your female constituents as a pack of chihuahuas? Is it ethical to have an animal advisory board with a shelter manager who can't do simple math and made 18 mistakes on their monthly?
You're done. You do not talk about our officers, our citizens, our city employees. Please have a seat.
Are you denying my rights under
I
the
said
Open
please
Meetings
have a
Act,
seat.
Texas Government Code 551?
Mr. Chief Williams, would you please take her outside? She's done. Ms. Rankin, did you want to speak?
Good evening. My name is Linda Rankin. I live at 184 Ocean. I would like to visit with you a moment about the ethics that are on the agenda. They were Exhibit A, and I find these are very well written. They remind me of something I've read before in from the Texas Municipal League, and I think they're a fine set of ethics. The only problem that I can foresee is that these ethics have been written by the staff or, I assume, someone with our city, but it hasn't been made clear to us. And I know there's a number of citizens that would like to have seen this set of ethics to have had some input from the citizenship. And so I'm just asking you to please reconsider these set of ethics and maybe give us more information as to how they were formed and where we got these. And then on one last note, and I won't be long, I just want to remind you that we are looking to you for your guidance on ethics. And I would say that we've had a bad problem, and even in your emails and social media. And all I'm asking is that you please stop being so rude to your citizenship, and please try to understand we're trying to point out some things that we want you to consider. So thank you very much.
Keith Bond.
My name is Keith Bond. I live at 262 Overlook Trail. I've been a permanent resident in Gun Barrel City since 2014. I'm here to speak on the Code of Ethics. And I'd just like to say to everyone up here, I support a Code of Ethics. I think we need one. But I don't think, let me backtrack. The city charter gives the council the power to form committees and boards as they see fit. Am I not correct? I think that having one individual present a code of ethics could much better be done by a group, a committee of council members and citizens to come up with a fair, balanced, and unbiased code of ethics. I've looked at several cities that have a code of ethics committee and a Code of Ethics Review Board. That would serve the city, I think, much better than what is being presented tonight. I would urge council to please consider tabling this action and forming a Code of Ethics Committee to move forward. Thank you.
The motion on the table is to adopt resolution number R 2023-002, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas, establishing a code of ethics and conduct for elected and appointed officials and providing an effective date. I will say that this code of ethics has been in the works for, the council asked for Mr. Yalls and Mr. LaRue to come up with a code of ethics quite some time ago, and it finally surfaced. So it is not something that was just thought about for a day and done. Mr. Yalls, do you have any comments on this since you're presenting it?
This is probably going to surprise some people, but I even agree a little bit with some of the comments that were made. But it's for the opposite reason that I think we need to get this ethics document put into place immediately. I would be completely open to the idea that we make changes to it as we continue to grow. But in my opinion, to wait to implement this till later is like waiting until we have more water to put out the fire. I'd like to start with what we have, and then let's all discuss what we might change if we find it's not suitable. I did receive one email from one person who did say they thought we should wait because they felt that it was unconstitutional. We did run this through our own city attorney, who assures us that it is. So I'm going to take the word of a licensed attorney over a person who's not first. But at the same time, the person that said they wanted us to wait offered exactly zero problems with the document that they had an objection to. So if somebody wanted to tell me what the objections were, I would love to hear about them. It's been in the council packet. We've all had the ability to review it, and not one comment about the actual material itself. Only the concept of an ethics guideline for us to follow seems to be the problem. So for that reason, I do not wish to table it.
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment.
I'm sorry.
I have a comment when appropriate.
Please go ahead.
I have no problem with the Code of Ethics, but I do have some problems with some of the key points in this document, and I want to bring them out and be on the record for the public to know. The standard of conduct has two provisions in it, 12 and 13, that are highly questionable Social media is now the preferred mode of communication. In a democracy, there will be a difference of opinion, as there should be, and such action should not be curtailed by such as shown in item 12. The citizens have every right to express discontent and be knowledgeable of disagreements with proposed Gun Barrel City actions or lack thereof. Social media is a way of expressing such and should not be curtailed. Differing opinions of view should not be curtailed as a result of item 13. Who is to define goodwill and the reputation of the city? Certainly not the mayor or the city council. The citizens have a huge stake in this matter as well. These two items in the standard of conduct are dangerous and prohibit a free flow of information. The actions of the city is not always correct, and citizens' confidence will continue to erode if not allowed to express such among themselves or to elected officials or appointed officials. This must be avoided. This item will also provide a dangerous mechanism for removal of board and/or council members who voice a difference on proposed city actions. This is particularly true without any review commission. There's several omissions on this document that we need to consider. One is it lacks a defined purpose. Examples might include to encourage high ethical standards in official conduct by officers, employees, etc. The resolution lacks a definition of a review committee, its jurisdictional and powers, and a disposition of alleged violations and a hearing mechanism. None of this is possible in this document, and in my opinion, should not be passed until this is completed. It's too early to pass this document, and it will never work as it was given in my opinion. In conclusion, I support it, but it must be carefully crafted to prevent a free flow of information and between the city and the citizens it serves, and not to promote a free ideas. A 5-person advisory committee is my recommended action. Such committee members should be recruited by placing an ad in the Monitor soliciting citizens' interest, which then can be approved by the City Council. So my support of this, as it stands tonight, would be a no vote for these reasons. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a follow-up comment in response to that?
Just a moment. I had one first. Thank you, Mr. Foster. I would have appreciated a heads up on this since it's been before you for several days now. But the charter stipulates the removal of board members, and this by no means overrides the charter. And as far as removal of city council, well, that by state law recalls a recall election. So I don't see this as being used as a tool for removal. I may see it as a tool to prevent some board members from carrying out and trying to provide information that they think they know when they don't know it, which is what we find ourselves with repeatedly, with bad information being shared, just like someone gave someone a packet of building plans for the multi-use facility that never been approved, but yet we got out there on social media, and whoever that person was that gave that could be held accountable through this. And I'm certain that's not your reason for being against it, but nonetheless, I think it is time that I've asked for these months ago. Council agreed to let Mr. Yalls and Mr. LaRue work on this, and here it is. So that's kind of my comment to it. Mr. Yalls, yours?
A couple of points. Number 12 and number 13, as well as every item on this document, has absolutely zero to do with the public. There is not one word in any part of this document that in any way suggests that we inhibit or that we could inhibit free speech by any citizen of Gun Barrel. This document is only relevant to elected officials, board members, people who have been given the public's trust. Item number 12 specifically says that we as a group should agree to avoid creating disputes or conflicts with other city employees and other appointed officials. I can't imagine that anybody would want to stand up and wave a flag that says, oh no, I want to be able to create disputes and conflicts, because to me, that just goes, it flies completely in the face of civilized society and a civilized government organization. Second thing, refrain from using social media in a way that harms the goodwill and reputation of Gun Barrel City among its citizens. There are examples, even in the last 24 hours, in the last 10 hours, where people have outright called people in this council and other parts of our city government liars for telling the truth that they didn't want to hear or didn't agree with. It reminds me of a distasteful period in our country where we agreed to alternative facts. In my world, there's one set of facts, and as an elected official, I will always collect the facts truthfully, honestly, and objectively, and this does not in any way stop me from doing it. I would seriously question why anybody who sincerely wants to do the right thing would have a problem with this.
Thank you.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Social media platforms are very important. They're very prevalent now, and it is a means of communication. So I don't think we should restrict that at all. But I believe when you have an appointed member to a board or an elected official or employees of the city, I think they need to be very focused on communicating what is actually going on and avoid getting into name-calling and disparaging the city itself or other individuals. So for that reason, I think we need to really focus on those types of aspects. I don't believe the social media items 12 and 13 are intended to be restrictive at all. I believe they're intended to make sure that we have a civil discourse, and that will benefit all of us.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Evans, your question?
Yeah, who's the review?
Go ahead. No, ma'am. You've already had your time. Thank you. You've had your time. Go ahead.
Okay, who would review the person, or,
Who would review?
well, like this?
The council.
Against, yeah, the total council?
Yes.
Who?
It would come before the council if there needed to be something with violation of the ethics, then it would come before the entire council.
And you don't think a committee would be good to form and go over this, or?
No, I think it's the council's responsibility to a committee to go over these items.
Well, the 13 items.
Oh, I think that's a council's decision, not a committee's decision. I feel like the council is better suited to build their code of ethics. You know, I mean, I can remember back when I was a Cub Scout leader, and one of the things that we talked about was letting the Cub Scouts, work their own rules out. And so I think this is why we've done this. We've provided it to council for their input. So I'm a little shocked that we got the input that we got tonight, because nothing had come up before tonight. So, but yeah, that's what I think. So.
Well, I remember.
And again, we did talk about this I can't remember if it was a workshop or if it was a meeting, but we talked about this and agreed that we needed a code of ethics, and that we agreed to the process that we put them together, and then now they're together. So now we're saying we don't like the process.
So I remember the cut. I think LaRue and y'all was supposed to.
Yes, ma'am.
Do standard stuff or something. But I don't remember the code of ethics ever being discussed.
It was a code of conduct.
That's what it was for.
It's clarification of the code of conduct.
So, well, this is it. So, any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to bring up a point. There's been a mention that there's 13 items on this. There's actually 14. The 14th item specifically states, keep matters of confidential nature confidential. This will include attorney-client privileged communications, information discussed in executive sessions, proprietary confidential information belonging to third parties, economic development information that is not right for public disclosure, and any other information that could jeopardize the good governance of the city. A perfect example of this we've all just experienced in a newspaper article where preliminary drawings of ideas was released and told to the public that these were the plans that were in action, when everyone who was handed those documents knew for a fact that was completely false. This needs to be done now. I want to put the fire out. I would be amenable to us reevaluating and making any changes that the group felt was appropriate, but tonight I want to get the fire out.
Thank you, Mr. Yawls. Further conversation? Hearing none, vote for my left.
Yaws, yes.
Evans, no.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Foster, no.
Motion carries. Item 2E, discuss and/or take action to approve an interlocal agreement with Henderson County to conduct the city's May 6, 2023 general election. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to discuss or take action to approve interlocal agreement with Henderson County to conduct the city's May 6, 2023 general election.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Vote for my left.
Yaws, yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Foster, yes.
Item 2F, discuss and/or take action to approve an agreement with Cedar Creek Lake Cats, CCLC, to hold an adoption events in Gun Barrel City. May I have a motion?
I move to discuss or take action to approve an agreement with Cedar Creek Lake Cats, CCLC, to hold adoption events in Gun Barrel City.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Davidson, you want to speak?
Thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted to put out there with these cat adoptions, we are already having them spayed and neutered, so that takes one of the topics off of the table about that, so you don't have to send them out fixed. Plus,
Right.
not only that, it brings in a whole lot of business, so, you know, that ups our sales, ups the sales tax for the city as well, so.
Okay. Thank you. Before you sit down, does council have any questions they'd like to ask Ms. Davidson about this
I
agreement?
have one question. This is cats only, not dogs?
Yes, this is just for the cats, but it's not limited to dogs because she also fosters dogs, so we could do those as well, but they would also be fixed.
But they're not included in this contract. Dogs are not included in the contract.
In that contract?
It says cats.
It says
cats?
cats.
It says cats.
Well, because the first one I did had both, and then the second one I did just had, it said vaccination of dogs and cats required, so it has dogs in there, and the copy you guys have.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Okay.
If you want to come up to the microphone, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm Jessica. In the copy you guys have, it has both cats and dogs, so I don't know if part of it got left off, but I was asked to create this document for us to be able to adopt out animals in Gun Barrel City. So I just followed Texas state law and kind of copy and pasted some of that for spay, neuter, and rabies.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, is it just cats?
It is just cats. The agreement that City Council has before them is a revised version of the contract that was provided with Ms. Heller, from Ms. Heller. I, in conjunction with our city attorney, devised this contract. This is specific to cats. This contract is specific to her company. We will use this format for any future adoption events, but Ms. Heller has waited very patiently to get this, so I wanted to get hers approved so that she can move forward. Any future contracts for the adoption of animals in the city will use this basic format.
All right, thank you. And we do appreciate y'all's patience on this. This is not something we were ever really against on the cats, but we just needed to get all of our ducks in a row and
Yes.
and the contract written out, so we're good with that.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
If we were to hold, one of the parts of my businesses is also to have dog adoptions. Would we have to go through a different contract?
Yes, ma'am.
To get those?
Yes, ma'am.
With a different organization, with the same 501c3?
It was still, you would come through to City Hall with another contract.
Yes, sir, but we'd
Would
have
be
to have a
required.
separate one to hold dog adoption,
Yes, ma'am.
like events and whatnot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
The same, it'll be basically the same contract, except it would say dogs.
Okay.
And you would have to come talk to the city manager and see how that came out. And then, yeah, it would.
Now, one more thing, I don't know why I didn't think of this, but it has where we have to do this every single year. Is it possible that we can have it auto-renew unless either party gives 30 days notice or something? I mean, I've spent 4 months trying to do this. I obviously love cats. I adopted out 500 cats at PetSmart in Dallas last year.
As the city manager said, we kind of rushed this one to get y'all's situation taken care of.
Thank you.
And we will look at
Okay.
relook at this and see if there's a opportunity to do something different. I think it's spelled out, I think the terms are spelled out in the contract as far as length of time, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that, when this one's up, you could revisit with the city manager, council. By that time, we will have all the kinks worked out and be able to tell you whether you can, whether we can make it a 3-year or keep it at a year.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm really glad and excited that y'all are coming and that we're forming this contract. This is great news. Thank you. A question, when you bring up the topic of the spay and neutering, will this be completed at and again, I don't need to know where, but at your facilities or whatever, before an actual adoption takes place?
Absolutely. I don't bring a cat up to PetSmart or anywhere else unless it's been spayed, neutered,
Perfect.
rabies, vaccinated, microchipped.
Perfect.
The full 9 yards.
And that's the full package. My reason for asking.
That's what we're looking
again,
for.
My reason for asking is and again, no disparagement of anybody else, but we have had contracts with other organizations that would pass out a certificate to get things done, and we later found they didn't get done, and that's part of the reason why we're in the situation we're in now. So thank you. I'm very heartened to hear what y'all are doing and can't wait to get it started.
Well,
Thank
and microchips, so if something happens, they come back to us too if they didn't register, and then we have the adopter's information. So hopefully this can be a good thing for our city.
Well, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Key.
Since your introduction was cut short, what was your name is Jessica?
Jessica Heller.
Heller. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Discussion, council?
I guess I have one question. If we come back and then we start adopting out dogs, does Gun Barrel City then have a humane society, or does this humane society remain, you are the humane society, right?
No, sir. They're pet sense.
Well, it says in the contract, a humane society for the adoption of cats. That's what.
That's her.
That's what I'm referring to.
Terminology, like your code, your says a humane society. You have
Okay.
to have an agreement.
Thank you.
So it was y'all's terminology.
Thank you.
Further discussion?
I'm just happy that we're working toward our continued goal of having an organized process to humanely provide for the care of animals within the city and for pets. Obviously, as a person who visits the movie theater at the lake and goes to restaurants at the lake and shops at the lake, it's nice that this is yet another service that we don't have to drive a long distance to take advantage of. And the fact that y'all are so organized and so thoughtful in your approach to the business, it seems clear that y'all's real goal is to do what's best for the pet, for the animals, and for the community in large. So thank you again for that.
Further discussion? Vote for my left, please.
Y'all's yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Boss, yes.
Thank you. Item 2G, discuss and/or take action to adopt ordinance number O-2023-003, providing for the adoption of current regulations and amendments to the Texas retail food rules for the Texas Department of State Health Services and mobile food units. Ordinance number O-2023-003, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas, providing for the adoption of current regulations and amendments to the Texas retail food rules of the Texas Department of State Health Services and mobile food units, providing a repealing clause, providing a saving clause, providing a severability clause, providing for a penalty not to exceed the sum of $2,000, and providing for an effective date. May I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to discuss and to take action to adopt ordinance number O-2023-003.
Thank you.
Providing for the adoption of current regulations and amendments to the Texas
Second.
retail foods, Texas Department of Health Services for mobile food units.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Discussion?
And we've discussed this in many workshops, and it's been a bit of time to get to this point. I'm satisfied with what we've put together in the past in our discussions, and I'm prepared to vote for the program as written.
Great. Mr. City Manager, you have any comments?
No, just I want to thank all the hard work that went into this from multiple different groups. There's a lot to put together, and I think it's a good thing for the city. It provides another venue for people to go out and experience different types of food, and it provides for small businesses in our city in which to operate.
Thank you.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Maybe city managers can answer this. having an ordinance like this, we at one time had I believe, a food inspector. Is that going to be necessary? Is there another demand here being placed that something like this would eventually create?
These food trucks are required to be licensed by the state, so they're going to be required to have that license prior to being licensed by the city. So we do not have a food inspector, but the state does require them to pass annual food inspections.
Okay.
Further conversation?
No.
Mr. City Manager, wasn't that discussed in the, I believe, at least 2 of the workshops where we discussed this ordinance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything further? Vote for my left.
Y'all, yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Ross, yes.
Item 2H, discuss and/or take action to adopt ordinance number O-2023-004, adopting the 32nd supplement of the Code of Ordinances as published by American Legal Publishing. Have a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 02023-0004, adopting the 32nd supplement to the Code of Ordinances as published by the American Legal Publishing Company.
Second.
A motion is second. Ordinance number O-2023-004, an ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas, and declaring an emergency. Discussion? Vote for my left.
Y'all, yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Ross, yes.
Thank you. Item 2I, discuss and/or take action to adopt ordinance number O-2023-005, amending various sections of chapters 152 and 156 of the Gun Barrel City Code of Ordinances. Ordinance number O-2023-005, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas, amending various sections of chapter 152 and 156 of the Gun Barrel City Code of Ordinances, providing a severability clause, providing a repealer clause, providing a penalty clause, and providing an effective date. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to discuss or take action to adopt ordinance number O-2023-005, amending various sections of chapters 152 and 156 of the Gun Barrel City Code of Ordinances.
Second.
A motion and a second. Let's see. Ms. Rankin, did you want to speak on this item? Oh, no, you're on 2J. I'm sorry. They're all 2J. Okay. Any discussion on this item?
Well, I have a question with the city manager. Is this just the manufactured home that you put in here, the amending the sections?
Yeah, we just changed the name of the ordinance from mobile home.
Yeah.
And the reason, we tabled this last council meeting, and the reason why was the third bullet item down, where it listed mobile homes prohibited. I understood what that meant, but it was kind of confusing, so we sent this back to the city attorney, and he added the last sentence. However, any such mobile home existing as of the passing of this ordinance shall be considered legal nonconforming.
Okay.
So we just wanted to clear up that you wouldn't have to remove a mobile home that was built prior to 1976.
Okay.
I could see where that could be confusing. So we just really changed the terminology, and the main thing was any replacement mobile home or manufactured home in the city must be 5 years old or newer.
Yeah, okay,
Further discussion?
no.
Vote for my left, please.
Y'all, yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Ross, yes.
Item 2J, discuss and/or take action to discuss reestablishing and advertising vacancies for the Park Board. May I have a motion, please?
I move to discuss and take action to discuss reestablishing and advertising vacancies for the Park Board.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Rankin?
Council, again, my name's Linda Rankin. I live at 184 Ocean in Gun Barrel. I was on the council when our last park board began to dwindle, and we had one gentleman quit the board for illness, and we had a couple of other ladies that needed to quit. And so we had openings on that board, and at no point in time did we ever agree to disassemble that board. We simply never put members back into that board. So therefore, it's still reinstated. It's just lacking people to be on that board. And I really don't see a need for it to have to be reestablished and advertised. To add one other item about that, we sat in a good workshop with that board, and the board and the council came together and decided what are the priorities for that park. And the council took away the priorities that was decided amongst the board and the council, and those were given to the city manager, and he's been working on those. And so it's a valuable tool for us to have. And one thing I would like to point out is that in your resolution regarding your money that you're going to be spending on a community center or what have you, it says that it's a vaccination center, a youth sports facility, a senior center, a large kitchen, classrooms, and training centers, including computers with internet access. And this is the resolution you passed. And I could see how a board could come together with you and help you put together what is needed in this facility. And not only that, a board can go out and solicit funds to help you. They can help you get grants. And since it's already in place, really all you have to do now is just put members on that board. And I would recommend that you please hurry up and do that. Thank you.
Laura Young? Did you want to speak again? I thought they had you down for twice. Okay. Kelly Romero?
Good evening. My name is Kelly Romero. I live at 422 Sailboat Lane, Gun Barrel City, Texas 75156. I would like to speak tonight on the population of a Parks Board. I think the Parks Board could benefit the city a lot in a lot of different ways. A Parks Board could take work from the council, could relieve things that you guys don't have time to deal with. And I would say, Mr. Mayor, as you pointed out very clearly to me, the Parks Board has no power. They are an advisory board. But I think that we all could use advisory boards at a time or two. It's free. It doesn't cost the city anything to have a Parks Board. There's no financial detriment to it. It can, like I said, alleviate work for you, help other people, can keep an eye on it where you guys may not be able to, and advise where there are issues, come up with solutions to those issues, help be fiduciarily responsible for what's going on with a park, because at this point in time, it is just not being maintained. And I'm not going to get into the petty of what and who and when and what, but I will say that, Mr. Mayor, you made a point also in your response to me that since you've been involved, you have added a ton of amenities to the park. And
No, ma'am. I did not. I said that the park has added a ton of amenities. I didn't say I had done it.
Your quote was, since I have been
involved with the park, these are the things that have come in. I didn't say I did those things. It's just since my knowledge of the park.
Let me correct myself then. I misspoke. What was said was, since you have been involved. Now, I don't know in what role that was, but those were your exact words. Okay, but my point to that is I'm not here to argue. My point is that a Parks Board, there's no reason not to have one. Every other city has a Park and Recreation Board. So I don't understand a council that would be opposed to an advisory committee that is simply just an advisory committee, doesn't cost the city a penny, everybody's volunteering time. And we can add revenue streams. We've talked about tournaments. We've talked about craft fairs. We've talked about ways to increase business. Tournaments need hotels. They need restaurants. They need all kinds of things that could bring in thousands and thousands of dollars of revenue to this city. And I can prove that if asked to do so. So all I'm saying is that we have a park. ADA chair was brought up. You can't use it. You can't access it. A wheelchair couldn't get on it if it wanted to. It's got about a 2.5-foot gap. The tree project, all the trees have died. I'm sorry?
About 10 seconds left.
Okay. All the trees are dead. All I'm saying is we put it there. It's beautiful. We need to maintain it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hatton?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, for your service. Oh, you guys, very special. I don't think I could go through what you guys have to go through all the time, but thank you. My name is Shelley Hatton. My skater name is Civil Disobedience. I am with the Cedar Creek Lake Roller Derby team, and we use the pavilion for our practices. And it's really very important to us and to be able to grow our league. Unfortunately, after sitting through this, it sounds like we've been a bit of a victim of the social media, and we've been given some bad information. But I do want to let you know that if the pavilion is enclosed, we do lose a valuable space for ourselves. But I also want you I want to also make sure you guys see that this pavilion is a really special space in this community. It's not just for us. We've held practices besides birthday parties, soccer practices, Bible studies, tutoring classes, yogas, workouts, and even quinceanera dance practices. And a lot of children ride their scooters around, and we also get eyes on ourselves to be able to sort of recruit for roller derby as well. So this is, to lose this space would be very difficult for us. But we would like to say that, to discuss the board, if a board would be helpful to help establish and regain another pavilion type area, that would be very, very helpful for our league and I think for this community as well. And I also wanted to say thank you very much to your staff. They have been very helpful in accommodating us at the pavilion as well, and we've gotten special use permits for the pavilion, and we really do appreciate the use of the space. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. I'm going to set a few things straight. Number one, the previous park board members dropped off because of the fighting and all that was going on the park board. We advertised probably for, 60 to 90 days for more park board members, and we got no one signed up. So it did just fall apart. I don't know that the issue with this item wasn't about whether to reestablish a park board or not. The item was originally presented to council to vote on these 6 people that just magically appeared all at one time, and without any advertising for the rest of the community. And I believe that we need to advertise to the rest of the community if council makes the decision to do so. If council wishes to reinstate the park board, that is their decision to do that. History is that we always advertise for board members and not allow all citizens the opportunity to apply to the park board, I think would be irresponsible of the council. So that is why I did change the agenda item, is to first, let's do things in the proper order. First, let's decide if the council wants to reestablish the park board. Secondly, then we can vote on, we can advertise it, and then we can vote on members of it. But past practice is always that we advertise for board members.
Mr. Mayor, that's not accurate.
It is fairly accurate, Mr. Foster. I'm sure there's going to be some exceptions that we did not advertise for a board member, but generally speaking, Mr. Foster, hush. I'm not going to talk over you. Mr. Spot, I had the floor. He will speak when I finish, and if y'all, Ms. Nelling, I'm not going to ask you again to be quiet. There's the door. So, there's the door. You stop speaking out in this meeting. I'm going to finish my comment without interruption. Mr. Williams, would you please escort Ms. Rankin out? So as I was saying, there are going to be times and exceptions for everything. But generally speaking, we always advertise for boards. Most of the time, there may be exceptions. I'm not going to say there are not exceptions to that, but generally speaking, we advertise in the paper for boards. It goes into the Monitor. We pick a newspaper for the city every year for the last 4 or 5 years. It's been the Monitor, and they run the ads. And then we get the applications in, and then we process those applications. Mr. Foster, go ahead and have your say.
Thank you. The last post in the Monitor was April of 2021 for EDC directors, board of directors. There's been at least 2 appointments since then with no Monitor posting, that being Ms. Mullins and Mr. Coleman, neither of which were advertised that we can find any records of. So in order to hold up the discussion on appointing 6 board members because they had not been advertised is, given that the past history, I can only say that we have not advertised these faithfully in the last 2 times that we've made appointments.
2 times. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
In light of the situation that's happened where a member of our own city government, and the only words I can think to use are intentionally released, at best misleading, at worst intentionally false information to the press in an attempt to try and, I don't even know what the right word is to use, to try and improperly influence the plans and the city government's operation. I would be inclined to want to look at the park board, except for the fact that, as you pointed out, 6 applicants showed up like that at the exact same time that social media that we've been talking about, including people within our own city government, which is why we need the ethics document, talked about an end run to try and completely take away the council's control for what might end up being our multipurpose center without any discussion from the council. Given that I've read that in direct connection to this process, I don't feel comfortable with it. I do trust that our citizens being members of the board is a good idea. I'd love to do it. I think we've even met a person tonight who would probably do a real good job. I don't even know who those other 6 people are. The fact that I've received messages from at least 2 people in the last 24 hours demanding that I provide them my answer to this question before this board, this council could meet, including one that got real hot under the collar and says, I'm still waiting, as though I owe them a direct response to them personally rather than to the citizens at large. This to me just doesn't smell right. I do agree a board would be a great idea. I don't like the way this one's getting done. It's very suspicious to me. I got to tell you, if we had the ethics discussion, maybe I'd feel differently, but the fact that everything seems to be finding loopholes and ways around proper city government, this is not what I signed up for, and I won't support it. I will support we do have many boards, and I wouldn't be against a park board, but this one doesn't smell right. This smells like somebody is trying to create an end run to circumvent city government.
Thank you, Mr. Yawls. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Yawls, you couldn't be more incorrect. I know none of these 6 people, one person on the applicant on this board, the loophole that you're referring to for not putting them on the agenda tonight is that they have to be posted in the Monitor. All I'm saying is that has not been done for the last 2. If we want to post these people on the Monitor and post and say we are seeking applicants for the board, let's do that. These people should stay in the pool, and they'll be part of the 6 considered.
I have no issues with that if the city council so chooses to re-advertise for a park board. So far, the city council has expressed 0 interest in a park board until you submitted an item to put members on a board.
Well,
The park board, the previous park board that we had, like I said, they felt like their role was much larger than it was, I believe, and some of them left because of frustrations with other board members. I was told that by several of them that left. And so I have no concerns about whether we reestablish the park board or not. It's just the process in which we need to go through is for the council to decide, is that what they want to do? And if it is, then we will advertise for the board members, and then we will vote on those board members. That is the proper process, and that's all I have said, and that's all I'm trying to relay here. But it seems like everyone wants to say we don't, you know, there's a group that wants to say we don't want a park board. I've never said that I don't want a park board. I don't really see a need for one, but I don't have a problem with one if the council wants one. Yes, Ms. Evans.
Oh, I think we need one, and I did bring it up to two people, and I'm not going to call their names. I think I was here a couple of years, and I brought it up to them, and the first thing they say is we don't have the money. But I do think we need a park board. It used to be, the park used to be very active, and they rented out the ball fields, and they use a concession stand for fundraisers. So I do think we need a park board, and like I said, they can't do anything without coming to us.
Correct.
So.
They do not have a budget. They can't do anything without coming to us.
And if you want to advertise, I don't have a problem with that. I don't know anybody that, I didn't see the application, so I don't know who it is.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I don't either. So, further discussion? All right, the motion on the floor is to reestablish and advertise vacancy for the park board, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Foster?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. And seconded by Mr. LaRue. Is any further discussion? A vote for my left, please.
Yes.
Evans, yes?
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Planning and zoning, item 3A, discuss and/or take action to approve a site plan for Quick and Clean Car Wash to be located at 1053 West Main Street, Gumbel City, Texas. Is that supposed to be East Main Street and provide?
It is.
No, it's West Main Street.
This side of the?
It's next to Denny's.
Okay. Where's the north and, or east and west?
East and west would be 198. So anything west of
Okay.
198 is West Main Street.
I had been asked that before the meeting, so I wanted to clarify. May I have a motion, please?
Denny's.
Costa.
I make a motion to discuss and or take action to approve a site plan for Quick and Clean Car Wash to be located at 1053 West Main Street, Gun Barrel City, Texas.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion? Vote for my left.
Y'all's yes.
Evans, yes?
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Ross, yes.
Thank you. Item 4A, second reading of Resolution R 2023-001, approving a renovation grant and performance agreement to El Reconcido Latino Meat Market LLC located at 368 South Gun Barrel Lane, Gun Barrel City, Texas, in an amount not to exceed $25,000. Resolution R 2023-001, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas, approving a renovation grant program and performance agreement by and between the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation and El Reconcido Latino Meat Market LLC, a Texas limited liability company authorized pursuant to sections 501-103 and 501.158 of the Texas Local Government Code and providing for an immediate effective date. May I have a motion, please? Oh, excuse me. Item 4B, discuss and/or take action to adopt Resolution R 2023-001, approving a renovation grant and performance agreement to El Reconcido Latino Meat Market LLC located at 368 South Gun Barrel Lane, Gun Barrel City, Texas, in an amount not to exceed $25,000. Now may I have a motion?
Make a motion to discuss and or take action to adopt resolution number R 2023-001, approving a renovation grant performance agreement for El Reconcido.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No. Vote from my left, please.
Y'all's yes.
Evans, yes?
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Ross, yes.
Thank you. Item 5A, public hearing to discuss the unsafe structure located at 161 Loon Bay Drive, Gun Barrel City, Texas. Is anyone here for the public hearing? Yes, sir.
Kent Jones, Skogman Development.
Sir, who?
Yes. My name's Kent Jones. I'm with Skogman Development, the owner of the parcel.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I'm just responding to a letter I got regarding the structure, so.
Yes, sir.
I'm just open to questions.
Well, I don't know that we have any questions for you. This is the public hearing for it. If you're support it or if you don't support it, provide some reasoning for it.
No, I'm sorry. Just to give a thumbnail version of what's happening, I'm in the process of starting the demolition process of the building, so just as a matter of fact, so.
Okay, so you're going to tear it down,
Yes.
is what you're saying? Okay.
What's your timing on that?
Well, the initial bids were in the $25,000 range, so hopefully maybe I can do it a phased approach and get it down within 6 months or something like that.
Okay. Council have any questions, Mr. Jones?
Yes, there was a recent item within the last year where the owners of a structure in similar condition asked us to wait, and what ended up happening was we continued waiting and continued waiting, and I know there was some specificity from that person as to when they expected to have some things done that would have taken away the necessity for us to even be involved. And the takeaway I had was that it just never seemed to get done. I'm a fan of, again, I appreciate your situation, and I absolutely love the idea of you taking care of it. Sure would love to hear a timetable that was what you describe as doable and that you could commit to us, and we'll stay out of it. That would be my vote.
6
But
months.
I would want a timetable that was firm.
6 months.
6 months?
6 months.
And that's with discussion with the Director of Planning and Zoning, so he's aware of my schedule.
All right. Any further questions of Mr. Jones?
No.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Public hearing is closed. Item 5B, discuss and/or take action to determine whether the structure located at 161 Loon Bay Drive, Gun City, Texas is considered unsafe. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to discuss and take action to determine whether the structure located at 161 Loon Bay Drive, Gun City, Texas is considered unsafe.
Second.
Motion is second. Mr. City Manager, comments?
No, just that I don't know if Mr. Jones has had contact with the building official, but if you haven't, you might check with him as far as some of the people we use for demolition. I don't know who, he might have some alternative options for you that might allow you to get it done a little bit sooner. But if you just call City Hall, we can set you up with an appointment with the building official.
Have we had a problem with folks staying there, vagrants, homeless folks staying in there?
I think in a lot of the vacant buildings in the city, we have that, and our code enforcement officer goes out and regularly tries to oust them out of the buildings. We utilize the no water as being an unsafe building, and we utilize the police department as well to help us. But periodically, we do get people living in these. This building appears to be somewhat boarded up. That does help the vagrants from being inside, but when it's cold out, people look for a place for shelter, and unfortunately, it's the homeless look for the places where no one's living. And we do have that periodically, and we're careful not to run them out when it's cold, and but we do our best to try to keep them vacant because they are unsafe and hazardous for the public.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor or Mr. City Manager, do we have the ability as a council to vote to declare this facility or the structure is unsafe and leave it to the owner within the 6 month that he committed to him demolishing it and bringing it down so that the city wouldn't be responsible for the expense?
Yes, I think you could declare it unsafe. Whether it gets demolished or not by the city would be up to the agreement and the arrangements made between the owner and the city.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, if it's declared unsafe, we don't have to come back again. If it doesn't get destroyed or demolished in 4 to 6 months, we can just move through the process because it's already been approved.
Thank you.
I believe our police chief wants to speak.
Just real brief for the council. We had a burglary at a nearby business on Christmas Day. I was actually working that day, and we conducted a search as we thought our suspects fled to this building, and there was nobody in there and nobody squatting at that time on December 25th.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Vote for my left.
Y'all's yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
He, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 5C, discuss and/or take action to adopt Order 161 Loon Bay Drive, making findings of facts and ordering the demolition of structures located at 161 Loon Bay Drive, Gumbel City, Texas. Order 161 Loon Bay Drive, an order making findings of fact, finding certain buildings and structures within the city limits to be dilapidated, substandard, and unfit for human habitation and a hazard to the public health, safety, and welfare of the city's residents, ordering the buildings and structures be abated and ordering the demolition thereof. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to discuss or take action to adopt Order 161 Loon Bay Drive, making findings of fact and ordering the demolition of structures located at 161 Loon Bay Drive, Gumbel City, Texas.
Second.
Motion and a second. I think to Mr. Yall's point, if council so chooses, we can do the same thing we did with the other folks that asked for some time, and we gave it to them, and they did not do their task, and then we, at the end of that time, we went ahead and tore the building down and sent them the bill for it. I think we could do the same thing here if that is council's choosing. I'm not trying to say one way or the other, just to clarify what Mr. Yall's asked.
I'd recommend we give them a 6-month grace period.
I agree, and this particular item does not say who will perform the demolition, so
Correct.
it would work.
Yeah, it would work. Could we want to, since you agree, Mr. LaRue, you want to change your motion?
So amended to include a 4 to 6 month time frame.
Within a 6-month time frame?
Yes, 4 to 6 months.
From today? From today?
Yes, from today.
All right. Still the second, Mr. Yost?
Yes, but I would like to ask the city manager a question. If we do amend it to say 6 months, would we need to include a specific date? Or can we leave the language 6 months and that would be satisfactory? I'm inclined to believe a date would be better, given that everything works off the calendar like that, to take away any ambiguity.
I would say, reading the way the ordinance is written, where it uses 30 days as its original time frame, I would say amending the motion to include 180 days. That's basically 6 months. 180 days gives a very defined period of time from today's date in which the city can determine whether it's been demolished without having to come up with some interpretation of what 6 months would be and from what day that would start.
I will amend the motion to include a 180-day time frame.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Vote from my left.
Gause, yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Yes.
Boss, yes.
Thank you. Item 5D, public hearing, discuss the unsafe structure located at 218 Red Robin Road, Gumbel City, Texas. Is anybody here for the public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. Item 5E, discuss and/or take action to determine whether the structure located at 218 Red Robin Road, Gumbel City, Texas is considered unsafe. May I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to discuss and/or take action to determine whether the structure located at 218 Red Robin Road, Gumbel City, Texas is considered unsafe.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, is this just a carport? I mean,
It looks like a carport type structure, but that's all that's on the property.
There's a lot of trash on the property.
Yep.
So, I looked at it yesterday. Any further discussion? Vote from my left.
Gause, yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Yes.
Boss, yes.
Thank you. Item 5F, discuss and/or take action to adopt Order 218 Red Robin Road, making findings of fact and ordering the demolition of structures located at 218 Red Robin Road, Gumbel City, Texas. Order 218 Red Robin Road, an order making findings of fact, finding certain buildings and structures within the city limits to be dilapidated, substandard, and unfit for human habitation, and a hazard to the public health, safety, and welfare of the city's residents, ordering the buildings and structures be abated and ordering the demolition thereof. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to discuss and/or take action to adopt Order 218 Red Robin Road, making findings of fact and ordering the demolition of structures located at 218 Red Robin Road, Gumbel City, Texas.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Vote from my left.
Gause, yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Yes.
Boss, yes.
Public hearing to discuss the unsafe structure located at 635 Legendary Lane, Gumbel City, Texas. Anyone here to discuss that? Yes, Mr. Damiano.
My thanks. My name's Gary Damiano. I live at 335 Autumnwood Trail, Gumbel City. I am also president of the Mantle Manors POA. I cannot tell you how many phone calls I have had related to this structure. It burned down many months ago. It was gutted by fire many months ago. As it stands right now, it appears that people are living in this structure. Not actually in the structure, they're living in the shed. When it gets cold, they run extension cords across the street to one of the houses to run heaters, which makes things even worse. I encourage the city to take care of this problem and would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Damiano. Anyone else wish to speak?
Mr. Damiano, was this house occupied when the fire happened, or was it vacant?
It was occupied.
I was asking if you knew if this house was occupied or vacant when the fire occurred?
I do know it was occupied.
And I'm going to assume from the standard procedure that we've made every effort to get a hold of the owner and been completely unsuccessful?
Is that a certified letter? I don't know.
No, we've made multiple contacts with the owner. He's not very cooperative. In fact, one of the persons on the title actually removed themselves from the property. We have gone by, the fire marshal and the code enforcement officer have unplugged those extension cords, thrown them back over the fence. We have not actually caught anyone inside the building, but again, as Mr. Damiano mentioned, they are, I think, living in the shed, and we're doing all we can to keep them out of there. But it's rather extensive work to tear this down, but I don't think there's any plans to renovate it at this point.
Any further questions? All right. Public hearing is now closed. Item 5H, discuss and/or take action to determine whether the structure located at 635 Legendary Lane, Gunbarrel City, Texas, is considered unsafe. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to discuss and/or take action to determine whether the structure located at 635 Legendary Lane, Gunbarrel City, Texas, is considered unsafe.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Vote from my left, please.
Y'all's yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Item 5I, discuss and/or take action to adopt Order 635 Legendary Lane, making findings of fact and ordering the demolition of structures located at 635 Legendary Lane, Gunbarrel City, Texas. May I have a motion, please? Excuse me. Order 635 Legendary Lane, an order making findings of fact, finding certain buildings and structures within the city limits to be dilapidated, substandard, and unfit for human habitation and a hazard to the public health, safety, and welfare of the city's residents, ordering the buildings and structures be abated and ordering the demolition thereof. Now may I have a motion?
I make a motion to discuss and or take action to adopt Order 635 Legendary Lane, making findings of fact and ordering the demolition of structures located at 635 Legendary Lane, Gunbarrel City, Texas.
Second.
Have a motion, second discussion. Vote for my left, please.
Y'all's yes.
Evans, yes.
LaRue, yes.
Key, yes.
Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.